So, please, I'm going to call you all one by one. And these are the 2018 Purple Hibiscus Trust Creative Writing Workshop participants. Please welcome Chimamanda and Sam to the stage. All right. Of course, you will come in this way and you receive your award this way. Our first graduate is the one and only Hajara Husseini.
Hajara in workshop was often very quiet. She would often hide behind other people so I wouldn't ask her anything. But then Hajara wrote this story that completely stunned us in its courage, in its sharpness, in its wisdom. It was lovely to have you.
Fantastic. And now we'll call to the stage Simbiat Haroon.
So Simbiat, I told Simbiat that she did something spectacular, which is that she got me to read and enjoy speculative fiction. I should say that I read very widely, but science fiction, fantasy, I just cannot really get into. And then I read her story. And suddenly I'm like, what happened next? And so I said to her that now she has this massive responsibility to go on writing speculative fiction that people like me will enjoy, which is to say people who are not very keen on speculative fiction. So thank you for destroying my stereotype of speculative fiction.
Also, we have Zainab Omaki.
So first of all, Zainab had the coolest hair in class. I think it's very important to start with the important things. So in addition to having the coolest hair in class, Zainab would sit, and so Zainab and two of her friends would sort of hide in the corner, one corner, not say very much, really, but then just produce the writing, and this is what I talked about by stereotype smashing. You look at Zainab, she's very gentle and lovely and prim and proper, and you read her story and you're like, it's the wisdom of it, but also a kind of beautiful honesty, a kind of willingness to look inward that I found very moving. Thank you.
Would like to call Chioma Ezano.
You know, well, it's funny because when Ozzy said Chioma Ezano, for a minute I was like, who is that? Because we know her by another name, Babando. And for those of you who are not Igbo, she gave her, yeah, it means star. She gave herself the name. Apparently, Chioma wakes up on some days and decides that her name is no longer good enough. So she's given herself Babando. At another time, she gave herself the name Anyaung. So please, everyone, Babando Anyaung is here. Chioma, actually, the story that Chioma applied to the workshop with was, I found it so powerful because it went into, so she did a kind of research project about sex workers in Oka in Anambra State, but brought to it a humanity that I think is so lacking in conversations about sex work in this country. And there's something about, she said something at workshop that I found very moving. She said, I'm interested in people that do what we call bad things. And I think we are all human and we all do bad things. So Chioma is interested in what it is that makes us human, in humanity. And I found that just, not just interesting, but just deeply moving. And if you want to give yourself another name at any time, please do so, as long as you continue writing.
Yes. We'd like to call on stage Tim Agaba Bahoraho.
Yeah. Well, Tim, who I hope is here, yes. Tim is our brother from Uganda. So this year we had three non-Nigerian participants, and Tim is one of them. Tim came from Uganda. We are about to adopt him and give him a Nigerian name, but we haven't decided whether to give him an Igbo name, Yoruba name. We still have to fight about that. But Tim was a blessing in the workshop. Tim's voice had a kind of, even thinking about it now, I'm getting emotional, but Tim, people Tim. And he has a voice. Tim, can you just say something? Say hello. Just say something.
Hello.
That voice, yes. Tim, so every time Tim speaks in workshop, everybody goes, ah. Tim has very interesting, insightful things to say about everybody's story, and very kind, but very insightful. But half the time I'm thinking, we're not even listening to the wisdom because we're all like, ah, that voice. But Tim's stories, and Tim said something in, yeah, but anyway, he said something very wise, but it's a long story. But Tim's stories, I watched them evolve and grow, and I think he started off being a wonderful writer technically, but in some ways hiding from a certain kind of emotion. And at the end of the workshop, Tim had embraced emotion, and then you mix that emotion and just the lovely sentences that he produces, and it's sublime. I think we're going to hear a lot from Tim in the future. Yes. Tim, thank you. Having you was a gift.
Do we know if Chidima's back? Awesome.
All right. Please would like to call onto the stage Chidinma Namani.
Yay! She's here.
Back. She's back. She's back.
She's, she's my daughter, so just leave her. Chidinma has actually a very interesting story. Chidinma applied to the workshop, how many years ago? 7 years ago, she applied to this workshop. She got in, but she couldn't come. And she couldn't come because her mother felt that Lagos is a very dangerous place. Chidinma lives in Nsukka, which is where I grew up, so there's a connection there. And so she really wanted to come to the workshop. Her mother said no. She had her mother talk to Oke, who is the administrator of the workshop. Oke assured her mother that Lagos was safe, that we would keep her safe. Her mother said, well, okay, I'll think about it. Her mother then turns around and asks a relative, should I let her go? The relative said, where did she say she's going? The mother said she got into a workshop. They said it's Chimamanda did she teach in the workshop. Her mother's friend says, ask her which man she's going to see in that Lagos. And this is how this young, talented, hardworking person did not get to come to the workshop. But how does the story end? She applies again this year, she gets in, and she's here. And she's here because she said that 7 years ago, she said to herself, I can't come to Lagos because I don't have my own money. And she said it made her determined that she was going to find ways to earn her own money so that if she ever wanted to come to a workshop, she could pay her way. And she did. And can I also just say that Chidinma is a writer of just extraordinary talent. She got in 7 years ago, she got in this year, and she wasn't on any sort of maybe or she was on the top list. Our friend Dr. Maswe, who reads the stories before I then do the final selection, so the point is that she should have been here 7 years ago, she wasn't. But her being selected this year, I think, is testament to the sparkling talent that she has. I'm so happy you're here.
Okay, up next we have Justin Clement. Where are you?
So, the first day of workshop, I walk in, they're all seated, and so everybody's sort of the same height when you're sitting. And then we get up to have lunch, and I was like, what? I saw one long head, so I was like, Justin. Justin, in addition to being the tallest in the class, Justin, I think the first story that we talked about, Justin's story, I'm not sure how happy he was with my comments because I said to him, the writing is technically adept. But I said to him, you have to watch out for a certain kind of coldness. And he was sitting there with his long body draped on the chair, watching me, sort of like, I don't know whether they said you're a famous writer, I don't know, because I don't even care, right? Now, fast forward 10 days, maybe 8 days. Justin writes this piece that's inward looking about himself. It still has the same sort of, clever tone. It has its smug know-it-all voice, which is very entertaining, but it also has heart. It has so much heart. And I read that thinking, my God, it just took a few days for Justin to bring out that thing that was already there. Because we didn't give it to him, it was there. It's just that in that workshop, he had the opportunity to bring it out. And it made me so happy reading that. And I'm looking forward to the things that Justin is going to do. I think Justin was also really happy to have Dave there. I think Justin was sick of all the women, so he was very happy when Dave turned up.
We'd like to call Ngozi John.
So, Ngozi John, who seems to have the cutest dress this evening. But Ngozi is a name that we all in Nigeria think is sort of a name that almost every Igbo person has. But Ngozi is not Igbo. So we need to ask her how she's not an Igbo person, but her name is Ngozi. We don't know. Ngozi is from Northern Cross River, but she doesn't know Northern Cross River well. Culturally, Ngozi is Yoruba. So what's very interesting is her name is Ngozi. She's from Northern Cross River, but really she's Yoruba. So ladies and gentlemen, this is Nigeria. Ngozi, I actually want to thank Ngozi because she was very generous in class, often reading for people who didn't want to read, and she has a gorgeous reading voice. But Ngozi also, like really almost everyone in the workshop, a kind of just startling honesty and a sharpness to her writing. And also music. I mean, that story that you wrote that just really felt like music. And she has the coolest hair. She's just too cool. I'm so happy you were here, my darling.
I mean, I'm loving the stories of these workshops. Is anybody else? I can't wait to hear what's up with Moyo Sore Laditon. I want to hear about you.
Moyo! Well, and because we're so proud of everyone, we need to brag a little. Just so you know, Moyo is not only a fantastic writer, she's also a doctor. Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry, doctor.
Yes, please. We can't play with that, please. So one of the things that was good about this year is that if anybody got sick, no need for hospital, Moyo would handle us. I remember reading the story that Moyo sent in and just immediately saying to myself, this person has to come to the workshop. What Moyo does that I find really interesting is that she casts a very sharp eye on sort of contemporary things, and it seems it's on the surface it might feel light, but actually what she's doing is she's saying really deep and important things, but in a language that draws you in, and until the end you realize, oh, and you're stunned at the end. And Moyo was also she was in that corner where they would hide. They're like, nah, Chimamanda, please don't call us. Please leave us alone. And then they would produce their stories and you think, so you're a serious somebody. Thanks, Moyo.
Fantastic. Please, let's have Clementine Ewokolo Burnley.
Clemmy! So Clemmy is our sister from Cameroon. Clemmy lives in Germany, and when I read Clemmy's first story, I remember thinking, I hope this writer continues this because we need so much more of this. So Clemmy is interested in historical fiction. Clemmy is looking back at not just the ways in which colonialism shaped the nations that were made, but also how it continues to shape the way we remember our past. And I find that fascinating and necessary because I just don't think we have enough of that. But it's not just the historical writing. Clemmy asked the most eye-opening questions, such as, what's the point of forgiveness? Which made all of us think, it's true, but why should we even forgive anybody? Right? Clemmy led us into gorgeous darkness, didn't she? And she also was very generous with the participants, the stories of other people, just giving very, very useful, very kind, but also very honest feedback. And Clemmy's writing about other things, not just historical fiction, so moving. One of the episodes in which I had to hold myself back from crying was because Clemmy had written the story. And you know which one? Thank you, Clemmy. I'm so glad you're here.
We have 10 people on stage right now from the workshop who I can't wait to read their books. Please do write them, finish them. And to join them is Roy Ude Ubaka.
Roy! Well, first of all, I'm just going to say something that has nothing to do with the workshop, which is that Roy, and I call him that because his name is Roy, but at some point he decided to call himself Ray. There's no connection, no? So Ray Ikechukwu, very kindly was leading me this afternoon, leading me away from a crowd of very nice, well-meaning people, but I was hot and sweaty, and he wanted to save me from that. So he's leading me out, and he wanted us to come in here because it was quiet. And at some point, somebody stole his phone. Somebody slipped their hands into his pocket and stole his phone. Now, in that phone, all of the writing that Roy did during the workshop is there. He has no backup. Roy produced the most exquisite fiction in the workshop, and somebody stole the phone in which that writing is stored. To lose a phone is not just about the monetary value of the phone, it's also about the emotional value of the phone. And it deeply breaks my heart that this would happen in a space like this. And so there's a part of me that wants to say that whoever stole that phone, if that person doesn't bring it out and leave it in maybe the toilet, that person will die this night. So Roy, and I'm not even joking.
We know, that's why we're looking at you. We know.
I will call upon my ancestors. It is such a violation. It is such a violation. But I've said to Roy Ikechukwu that even if we don't find that phone, the writing in there will come back, and it will come back better and stronger. It will. Ray wrote, yes. He wrote, so the story that he sent in, I actually remember reading it and thinking, this person might be a too sabi kind of person, you know, he was feeling very good writing. And I was like, this is good writing, but let's just see. When he came, I turned, I was like, you wrote that piece? But I watched, and it was a very beautiful piece, but I watched as Roy Ikechukwu's writing became, it just felt to me, it became truer to who you are, became more beautiful. And I want to see so much more, and I know we will. And we'll find that phone in Jesus' name.
Amen. Amen. Yes, please, let's have a more fortunate Okpe Adeniji.
But you don't know if her phone was also stolen.
The chances of 2 phones stolen here, 2 people will die tonight.
So we had 2 Okpes in class. So we decided we had to figure out a way to distinguish between the 2. So this is Okpe big hair. No. This is Okpe afro. Obviously you know why. Okpe's story, the story with which she applied, was just pure gorgeousness. It was poetry, really. It was poetry. And you know, I teased her about she had to start by quoting a poet to let us know that her level is not our level. But the story itself, pure, just gorgeous poetry. And I remember reading it and just telling myself that there are different reasons to read fiction, all of which are valid. But sometimes just to read fiction to glory in language is a gift. And that's what I think that's what Okpe consistently does. And it's such a pleasure. And it was lovely having you, Okpe. I can't wait to read more.
I want to know what they're whispering about, Sha. Flora, please. Flora and Jeru, can you come and help me find out?
Flora! So Flora is our sister from Kenya. Flora came from Nairobi to join us. Flora also is one person who moved us to tears in workshop because she writes with such vulnerability and a kind of beautiful fragility and a way in which we read her, we cry, and then we start to ask ourselves questions about ourselves. And it's a gift for a writer to be able to do that. And Flora is also just too gorgeous in the way that these East Africans. Flora, it was wonderful having you, really. And the way that the courage you had in taking things that were difficult and turning them into art, I thank you.
Fantastic. Please let's have Loretta Adamu.
Loretta! So Loretta was our resident troublemaker.
Wow.
And every class needs that. So Loretta had something sharp and quick to say about everything, and don't try her because, you know. But Loretta, I remember the story Loretta sent in. I remember reading that, and again, there was a kind of, I mean, what I found so impressive about most of the stories was just this, there's a courage. It's difficult to be honest when you're writing. It's a difficult thing. And Loretta just has this incredible courage. She's honest. She's a truth teller. She tells the truth. And I find that to be, as a reader, it's a gift. It's a gift when you're reading a writer who you know just doesn't do bullshit at all. Loretta, thank you. And keep, don't change.
I love that you brought your pocketbook with you on stage.
Well, considering the phones as...
Okay. Chukwu Ebuka Ibe, please come with or without your phone. We might take a selfie with your phone, so do come with your phone.
Chukwu Ebuka is a very serious somebody here. So Chukwu Ebuka also has ties to Nsukka, right? No? Oh, sorry. Okay. Oh, right. I assumed he did because he wrote a piece that I read and I thought, wait, that's me. So there's so much about him. He wrote about himself, but I remember reading that thinking, but this is all me. So that's why I assumed that you had a link to Nsukka. But no, okay. Chukwu Ebuka's writing has a kind of and again, it's interesting looking at people and imagining what they would write, and then it's nothing like that. So I kind of think that he might write, I don't know, about an Igbo trader who is a hard man. But instead, his writing has such a delicacy. It's just so wonderfully observant. And he, like me, has a nostalgia for the past, a kind of longing for things that you can't even name. And it comes across in his writing, and it's so beautiful. Port Harcourt. He lives in Port Harcourt.
All right. And now we will have on stage Deborah Oluniro.
Debbie! So Debbie, actually, I think we had two resident troublemakers. Debbie was the other one, but in a different way. Debbie would sit at the corner, and then you'll just hear somebody say one random thing. It was Debbie. So I remember actually the first day I was thinking, I don't know if this person is serious. But what Debbie does so well is that in just the smallest space, and I think as prose writers, we know how difficult it is to do what you want in limited space. Because the more space you have, then the more sort of space you have to fail and then get up and try again. But Debbie, in just the smallest, in 2 paragraphs, she's able to convey a force of emotion. She's able to show character. She's able to, and I don't know how she does it. No, honestly, Debbie, please, you have to feel yourself because you should, honestly. She's feeling herself. She should, yes, she really should. And she did that consistently. Very, very small pieces, but with such power. And that gift you have, you cannot just be playing with it. Debbie.
I love how despite the fact you have 22 people in the workshop, you know something special about each one and you make each one of them feel so special. Amazing. I want to call up the next person, but I just think, can we have a round of applause for Chimamanda, please? Just for seeing such greatness and individuality in every single person on stage. Yeah. Arinze, where are you? Arinze Agubalu, please come and join us.
So Arinze, I was shocked when I discovered that this person is just 18 years old. A child. Born just yesterday. But then, yeah, hands up. But then come and see what this child of yesterday writes. After reading him, I was like, I don't know, maybe I should even just stop writing. No need.
Just leave it.
At 41. When I was 18, I did. Anyway, so when I read his story, there's a kind of, I really like some people know it's not stream of consciousness really. he does style. So there are certain writers who are focused on telling the story, which is fine. There are other writers who want to stylize their telling, who want to play with sentences. Arinze does that, and he does that really well. And then when we think about how he was just born yesterday, it's even more troubling. So I look at him, I think he's just 18. What is he going to do when he's my age? The thing is annoying, but anyway.
No, it's okay.
Yes, so. Arinze is going to retire Chimamanda. God
Honestly.
damn. God damn. All right, please, let's welcome Clara Khalu.
Clara! Clara, Clara made me laugh all the time. Clara, in some ways, I think, is similar slightly to Moyo, does social satire. So Clara looks at Nigeria. She wrote a story about a man who goes to South Africa, who gets involved in drugs, and people in his village are waiting for him to come back with big car. And I won't tell you how it ends. You should look out for her work. But there's underlying everything Clara does is humor. So there's humor in the telling. You're laughing, right? You're laughing. But really, you realize she's saying something important about our society. So it's social satire done with just wonderful humor. And she's also very funny. In workshops, she'd be quiet, and then randomly she'll just say something, and then all of us are laughing, and then her face is completely expressionless, like she didn't say anything at all. And I think she also said that when she got into the workshop, her father said to her that the most important thing was to come home with a selfie with Chimamanda. She did though. We can't annoy her father. Her father is like, yeah, go and write, but make sure you come back with that selfie.
Proof.
And now we have Okweyemi Razak Oyadiran to join us.
So this is our other Okwe. Okwe wrote a story in the workshop. We did an exercise about looking inward, what we like and what we don't like about ourselves, but just any take on it. And Okwe's was so stunning to me because I had seen her writing. I knew she wrote very well. I hadn't seen that level of honesty is putting it mildly. It was a kind of complexity. It was a complexity that was rich, that was interesting, that was moving, quite moving. And I just thought, I want to see what she's going to do with it. So I'm waiting. You have to...
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Yes, yes, and now we'd like to have on stage Diana Modeme.
Where's Diana? Okay, so Diana, yes. Diana wrote a story that, for me personally, because it's a subject I care very much about, just moved me. It was a story about, and I won't tell you the details just so that when she polishes it up and publishes it, you go and buy it. But it's a story that is really about how women are complicit in their own oppression, how mothers perpetuate the structures that hold women back, how often we talk about the patriarchy, blah, blah, but really that women are co-opted into it and become complicit. And she writes about it in a very clear way. So it's a story. It's actually riveting and funny. Diana is often quite funny. I was going to quote something from the story, but I shouldn't because I remember it. But what I found very moving was the way that she does that. It's interesting, it's funny, but she's really questioning important things about gender. And so I'm really particularly looking out for what Diana will do in the future. Because we have to buy the cards.
Well done, Diana. Akan Nelson, let's hear your story.
Yes, Akan. Twale balls.
He's like, I approve of this message, yes.
Yes, exactly. So Akan is a self-styled cool guy, as you'll see from the hair. He's like, yeah. Anyway, Akan, please say something because...
Oh, is this the other voice?
Yeah, this is the other voice. We had two voices in workshop.
We're looking for.
And Sam has just said they're looking for voiceovers at Trace. So please, Sam, please employ my people, please. Please, thank you. All All right, Akan, please say something.
Hello.
Ooh! We're hot. So Akan actually, the pieces that, a number of, like everybody, produced very good pieces, but he, at the workshop with Tash Orr had them pair up, and then you would write about your partner. And Akan created art from his fellow participants' story. Not just art, actually. Art with social relevance. I don't want to go into details, but I found it so, so beautiful, Akan. And Akan also has done different things. He can do the American, because there's a small American in his body. So when he wants to, he does America story. He can also do privileged Nigerian story. He can do South Africa. Anything you need, Akan is there. Don't play with him.
Yes. Akan, the lady killer. We are watching you. Don't worry. We'll be hearing more from you later. And the last but not the least, let's have Gabriel Apan Etim.
Actually, Gabriel is the person who was paired with Akan in the exercise. And so it was Gabriel's story that Akan created art from. But Gabriel, I actually remember, it was the second day, right, that I read his story, and I just turned and I looked at him. I was like, Gabriel. And that's all I could say. I think I was stunned by honestly, and you shouldn't stereotype people, right? You shouldn't. But I looked at Gabriel, and I just thought, maybe he would just write quiet stories like, he would just, but he scattered everything. Right? Gabriel did not play. Honestly. So I read the story and I didn't know what else to say. I was just like, Gabriel. And so this is true though. And so and Gabriel lives in Calabar. Ibadan, right? But he grew up in Calabar. He lives in Ibadan now. And he's very quiet in class. Got progressively less quiet, but it was the way in which his stories had a certain kind of texture and a certain kind of emotional power that I think is very difficult to do as a writer. And so whenever I see a writer who can do that, there's a part of me that wants to say, wait, how? How did that happen? So I wanted to ask him about what kind of water did you drink when you were growing up in Calabar? What kind of food did you eat? For Gabriel, it was really, really wonderful to have you in workshop. And thank you for your courage. Thank you for your courage.
Wow. Round of applause for our 2018 workshop participants. Yes, congratulations, guys. And we look forward to reading all your works. Thank you. And now we're going to have a group photo. So just come closer to the front of the stage. Yes, all those deep voice men, go to the back. I don't want to see any of you. All right. As in,
and ladies, please don't hide. Yes. If you know your hair is... Please don't hide behind somebody else's hair.
Yes,
we can't see you.
Where's the photographer? Okay. All right, so on 3, we're going to say, Oreka, what are we going to say on 3? All right, let's hear you cheat. Yeah, too long. On 3, we say hibiscus. 1, 2, 3. Hibiscus. Yes, keep that S. Yes, very good. Hibiscus. Very good. Perfect. Do we have the shot?
For safety.
Yes, always for safety. All right. Round of applause for our participants once again. Thank you so much. Thank you.